I'm standing next to Chris Matthews, journalist who in a previous life also worked in that building.
Right there on the house side.
And,
Speaker.
Well, you were what, chief of staff?
Yeah, and that was a long time ago. That was times were different back then.
Times were different. I want to talk about just how different they were, or whether we're just sort of remembering the golden age. But
no, it was very much different. When the Speaker of the House, who I worked for, left, both parties' leadership sat with them like in a Jewish tradition of sitting shiva. They just sat together and drank coffee together and talked about their years together. There's a very warm feeling.
Are you sure you're just not
our
putting
friends,
a glow on it?
When Ronald Reagan was shot, for example, and he was in the hospital at George Washington University Hospital, the first person they let in to see him was the leader of the opposition, Tip O'Neill, the Speaker. And he sat there and they prayed the 23rd Psalm together. The Speaker kissed him on the forehead. It was an amazing, I know because I talked to the guy who was there. There was only one other person there. So there was this, there was a real warmth of democracy between the two sides, and they disagreed. But well, look, this was almost like the tale of two cities last week. We had the greatest turnout we've ever had in voting. True, masterful performance of democracy. 160 million votes. Just think about that. Kennedy and Nixon fought over 34 million apiece. Trump got more than both Kennedy and Nixon. So there's tremendous turnout. That's the good news. The bad news is we've never had this kind of division. This sense of, I don't even buy your facts. I don't believe in what you believe in as facts.
Yeah, because we all thought that Donald Trump, who had gotten this record number of people to vote for him in 2016, had kind of run out of room when it came to extending his constituency, and yet he did.
He got them.
And he even had gains in the House.
Sure. I think the fair answer is, if you look at the verdict, the people decided marginally to get rid of Trump. But they didn't decide to embrace what they believe is the Democratic agenda. I don't think there's a positive piece to this. It's mainly negative. Just like 4 years ago when people voted against Hillary Clinton and they ended up with Trump. In fact, I think they voted for Trump to get rid of Hillary in many cases, especially the rural people who didn't like her. This time around, they wanted to get rid of Trump because they realized he didn't really have the answers to things like coronavirus and sustaining our economy during it. But they did not embrace socialism. They did not embrace defund the police and those kinds of messages they were getting.
But Joe Biden kept repeating, I'm not for defund the police. I'm not a socialist. I mean, he's from a state that's, well, a
too many of the Democrats did say that. Remember, down here at the White House, the night that they put up the wonderful Black Lives Matter writing on the street, somebody came along and wrote, defund the police. That got a lot of publicity. I think it would have taken... I think a lot of people buy the fact that the Democratic Party is a left-wing party and they don't like it, and Biden's got to deal with that.
Biden's got to deal with it. We just heard Craig Tufte saying that there's going to be a reckoning inside the Republican Party.
I hope.
Because, well, do they maintain the course? I mean, how many people agree with Donald Trump when he equivocates on far-right extremist groups and the such?
Well, because as George F. Will, the conservative columnist, who I really respect, said a couple of weeks ago, more Republicans support Trump than supported Reagan, 90% versus 80%. And so they want to hear from him. That's why it's so important these next couple of days and weeks that he comes out there and says, we had an election, there was a decision by the American voter, and I respect it. I have always gotten along with Trump personally when I met him. He can be charming sometimes, me for some reason. I would tell him the greatest leader of the 20th century was defeated for election in 1945, Winston Churchill. And he walked out of the number 10 Downing Street and took it. Can't you do that? And run again, like Churchill did. Run again.
Now, of course, in the meantime, he may face a few days in court.
Yeah, well, he's got...
Should he go to court?
Well, he can't be pardoned because he can't be pardoned from state crimes or city crimes, urban crimes, at the municipal level. So he's got the Attorney General of New York after him. He's got the District Attorney of New York City. Yeah, he's got that problem.
Should he go to jail if he's guilty?
That's up to the jury.
But what's your thought?
All I'll answer is this. I believe Joe Biden will stay completely out of it. I believe Joe Biden's Attorney General will stay completely out of it. Because it will look political. It will look like Pakistan, hanging Bhutto after he lost an election. That's third world stuff. I think whenever you look like you're prosecuting somebody because you beat them in an election, that's not worthy of a democracy. It's got to be a clean investigation and a clean prosecution, not involving politics.
You say third world stuff. I mean, I've covered a lot of elections in Africa where the incumbent doesn't want to leave after he's lost at the polls. Does it feel like
this
that?
building?
Is
let me tell you
democracy in trouble in the
I'll
U.S.?
bragging. I'll brag. You've got in France, you've got 5 republics. We've got 1. We didn't have to change anything. We've got elections every 2 years since 1788 without a break, and then elections for president every 4 years.
Is this the biggest test?
Well, yeah, and it's going to pass.
It's going to pass. What makes you say that?
Because the people's belief in the Constitution is very strong. In elections, it's very strong. They'll say these things. For example, sometimes people in this country will say things, as they do in the Middle East, that they don't really believe, but it's rhetoric. Like they'll say, Fox News is fair and balanced. They don't think it's fair and balanced. They think it balances out the liberals. They don't say it's balanced. They say it balances out. And it's basically kind of screw you kind of language. They know what they're saying.
But they don't have.
But they're not going to upset. There's not going to be a problem. Trump in the next couple of days will say, hold me to this. He will say, I lost the election.
Next couple of days.
And I'm leaving. He has to do it, and he'll have to do it pretty soon because at some point,
the
only people that will believe him are those who don't think.
Does he have to do it? Chris Matthews, when you began hosting Hardball, the world was a different country. The world was very different. You had television was the place where both sides converged to have their town square agora, if you will. Today, he can send text messages out.
What's he telling his cabinet? What's he telling his family? He lost. He can't be telling them something else with a straight face. Do you think he's actually having a conversation with Melania right now and saying, yes, Melania, we won the election? Do you really think he's doing that? I don't think he's crazy. You don't have to like him, but you have to say he's crazy.
Another thing about the...
It's just a power... At some point, I worked for a president. I was a speechwriter for President Carter a long time ago. And an interesting thing happens. I cleaned my office out 20 minutes to 12 on Inauguration Day. I had my Rolodex and all my stuff in my box, like you always have a box walking out the door. I didn't want to be in there at noontime. A colleague of mine stayed there at noon. What happens at noon in the White House, the picture hangers come in. They take down all your pictures that glorify your presidency, all your beautiful color pictures and your family. It's all beautiful. They take it down and they put up the beautiful pictures of the new president and his family. And it's done. You think Trump's going to be sitting there while the transition occurs around him? No, he's not. He'll be in the car. He'll go up to the Capitol, on the other side of the Capitol, and he'll be part of the inauguration ceremony.
Chris Matthews,
I absolutely believe it.
We've been talking about Donald Trump. Let's talk a minute about Joe Biden. The president-elect who earlier in Wilmington, Delaware, on the day where he appointed his coronavirus task force and spelled out guidelines, spoke to the nation a short while ago. Let's listen.
This is a crisis that affects everyone. As I've said throughout this campaign, I will be a president for every American. This election is over. It's time to put aside the partisanship and the rhetoric that designed to demonize one another. It's time to end the politicization of basic, responsible public health steps like mask wearing and social distancing. We have to come together to heal the soul of this country so that we can effectively address this crisis as one country where hardworking Americans have each other's backs.
The coronavirus pandemic, which is not going away anytime soon, Chris Matthews. If health experts warning we could have an extra 100,000 deaths in this country, and we're seeing the same thing the world over. In France, it's the same. The numbers are going up everywhere. We're in lockdown right now. But that tone, that rhetoric of inclusiveness, everybody in France and in Europe is breathing a sigh of relief over this.
Because our two presidencies, the Fifth Republic in France, gave the president of France strong authority. He's the head of the country. He's the head of state. There's no king. Like here, there's no king. The head of state, the symbol of the country, the personification of the United States is the President of the United States. That's a role that Donald Trump refused to play. He played commander-in-chief. He played chief executive. He played leader of his political party. But he never put that hat on that said, I'm head of the state. I'm the man who personifies the whole country. I was with the leader of the opposition the day that President Reagan gave that wonderful talk, that eulogy really, about the Challenger astronauts when they were killed in that crash. And Tip was crying. This country will unite around a president when it comes to a matter of state, a matter of what this country stands for as a country. And Trump,
is Joe Biden that person?
Trump never tried to do that.
Is Joe Biden? He's going to be 70. He's going to be 78 later this month. Is he up for this?
Yes, I think I've known the guy. He ran at 29. for the United States Senate. I remember looking at his billboard down in Delaware on the way to my house at the Rehoboth Beach. And I said, that guy, he's already losing his hair. He's 29 years old. I said, that guy's not going anywhere. You can't beat the Republicans in Delaware. He did. I watched him in Nevada. I watched him getting blown away in Nevada, New Hampshire, Iowa. And I said, this guy's finished. He's not going anywhere. Look, he's here. He's president. So I think Joe Biden has been underestimated a lot by people like me. He never moved to Washington, which is very interesting. All the time he was a senator, he took the train right over there, back home to Delaware, every night to stay with his kids. He's a very good guy, you know?
But he's a good guy what the world's most powerful nation needs at a time like this.
I think we need a good guy as president. I think we need somebody who means what he says. I mean, the left won't like it. At some point they'll say, what's this, America? You're for all Americans, even those who voted against you? What's that about? But nobody's said that yet.
All right.
I think that's interesting. I think we have a good president for our time, like we had a good president. We got Jerry Ford. Remember Jerry Ford said, I'm a Ford, not a Lincoln?
Chris Matthews, your books include Tip and the Gipper, When Politics Work. Thank you so much for joining us here on France 24.
It'll work.
It'll work. Okay.
Thank you.